A very good afternoon and welcome to Nove Mesto in the Czech Republic. We're well into the men's 15-kilometer freestyle race. Mike Dixon alongside myself, David Goldstrom, and at the moment the leader in the clubhouse is Alexei Chervotkin of Russia in 34 minutes and 38.2 seconds. But the main contenders, the likes of Martin Jonsrud-Sundby, through the first third of the race, and we'll bring you up to date with that at any moment. As Martin Jaks there, good Czech racer, but as you can see, still with some way to go to the finish line. Not the biggest crowd here in Nove Mesto. It was really chilly early on this morning. It's a little warmer now, about -5. And it's course, Mike, which you know pretty well, because it's a bit of biathlon and a bit of cross-country.
It is, David, and it is a testing course without a doubt. The first half of the 5-kilometer track, which they do 3 times, is on the biathlon tracks. Then it crosses the road and onto the highest part of the course, which is behind the stadium. And all in all, quite a test, nearly 600 meters of climb.
And the message today has been to start with a pretty high tempo. I can tell you that I'm not going to spoil anybody's enjoyment on the women's race, but there'll be highlights of that on Eurosport 2 after the men's race has finished. Here comes the somewhat rejuvenated Tony Livers in the black on the far side. Switzerland, of course, but we're without Dario Cologna, who, after suffering muscle strain in the Tour de Ski, now sidelined, and Tony Livers into a decent second place there, as you can see.
That's a good time, David, and the factor today, early number there, Tony Livers, the big factor is all this heavy, it's small snowflakes, but heavy snow, and it really is making the journey more difficult for the early starters.
Yeah, we had a lot of snow here on Thursday, and there you can see it, really remorseless snow since about 9 o'clock this morning, and there wearing the yellow bib, Martin Jonsrud-Sundby went through 5.5, I should say, he went through 5.5 kilometers, 12 minutes 28 ahead of Maurice Magnificat by a couple of seconds, and 12 ahead of Finn Kroh, and Ustigov also 12 back, and Yevgeny Belov. And here a big cheer from not such a big crowd here for Lukáš Bauer. You might remember that he was the runner-up in the World Championships last year in the 50-kilometer classic race, and to be honest, Mike, classic's more his cup of tea.
It is. Shaking his head there, he was an early starter, and he's aware, as most of the athletes will be, that it's certainly not an advantage going early. And Chervotkin, that's a good time, 34.38. It will be beaten, but he set the early man to chase.
Now, Jonsrud-Sundby, I can tell you, has gone through 8.5 kilometers, and he's 2 seconds ahead of Belov, and 3 ahead of Ustigov, and 8 ahead of Finn Kroh, and 10 ahead of Alex Harvey, and 12 ahead of Chervotkin, who at the moment is the leader in the clubhouse.
Well, that's interesting. I had a theory on Sundby today, David. It's less than 2 weeks since the end of the Tour de Ski, which he destroyed everybody. And my thinking is that he'll try and hit the early pace as normal, but I think fatigue may be felt by Sundby in the last 5 kilometers and knock his times a little.
Can I confirm that for you, Mike? Because 8.5 kilometers, Magnificat of France, who started a minute after Sundby, has now, through 8.5 kilometers, gone 11 seconds ahead of Sundby, and 13 ahead of Belov, and 15 ahead of Ustigov. Big move by Magnificat.
That's an early move, David. I know he was running behind Sundby in the early split timings, and that's bad news for Sundby when he gets the news that he's being destroyed there. 11 seconds, massive.
Very interesting, because Belov is the fastest man through 10 kilometers, and the fastest man through 13.5 kilometers, I'll give you that in a second, is Finn Kroh, and Finn Kroh and Belov were only separated by 5-6 seconds. And into the finish zone, number 25.
Sveen, the Norwegian, young, talented Norwegian.
Indeed. And Kalle Halvarsen, the best part of a minute off. just, I think, a bit too early in his comeback. I just think he lacks races.
You're right, he's only done 6 races this whole season, Halverson. I thought he might be in better shape. I know he had a great build-up through the summer, through the fall. He was in great form, and then injuries have set him back.
Well, this is interesting because this really does give us a guide, because Finn Krogh at the 8.5 kilometre point was actually almost 20 seconds down on Magnificat of France.
Now, if you notice, just passing left, there you can see Sunbi, who was drafting in behind Krogh for some time, so therefore slowing his pace down effectively.
That's a very interesting finish there from Finn Krogh, because he was actually almost 5 seconds up with just 1,500 metres to go, and he only just got home by 600ths. So Finn Krogh was really suffering, which means that the performance of Chavotkin, who's now second, and Tony Livers, who's third, those performances have some credit. Now Belov for Russia. We thought that Belov might do well. We thought the French might do well because of the spirit from Planitza in the sprinting. Well,
we saw that wonderful form the French team have. Of course, that's sprinting, but the spirit of the French team is all important. They spend so much time together, and the team spirit, as do all the teams, but the team spirit in the French is wonderful.
So that's Belov there. You can see he's about 4 seconds ahead of Finn Krogh. It's interesting, Belov, in the 3 freestyle races in the World Cup, he finished 12th, 10th and 6th. So he's been on a rising curve of form on these freestyle races.
And Belov makes it look so easy, such a giant figure. I'm not sure about Sunbi today, but let's have a look at him compared to Belov. This climb now, this is the biathlon side of the tracks. That's the easiest bit, is under the road, and then this climb is a short, sharp, very steep, 24 degrees, or 24%, I should say, coming up this climb.
Yeah, Belov and Ustigov inseparable, about 4 or 5 seconds ahead. But the interesting thing is that Magnificat has also taken an extra second out of Sunbi. He went through at 10 kilometres, almost 13 seconds to the good. And 58, here is the man himself. Here is your race leader, Maurice Magnificat.
Now remember, in Davos, Magnificat was trying to glue himself to the time of Sunbi. He managed to do that for most of the race, but only faded in the last 2 kilometres. This being half the distance, I think that Magnificat has all the advantage today.
Runner-up, of course, in Davos at altitude in the 30-kilometre race. So, again, this distance is no problem for him. And now Finn Krogh, Ustigov trying to come home now.
He's going to destroy that time, David, without a doubt, of Krogh.
And Ustigov going into the lead. Interesting where we see Belov coming home. And by the way, Mike, at 10.5 kilometres, Sunbi has recaptured a couple of seconds off Magnificat. Well, here comes the under-23 man. This is, as you can see there, Francisco de Fabiani. If this was a classic race, he'd be so much more comfortable than he is in this today. But of course, this is a race, a discipline which he has to improve of. And there you can see Andrew Musgrave started, I thought, a little steadily. Interesting to see whether he can squeak a point in the top 30.
Unlikely today, I think, David, and I'm not sure about his equipment. This heavy snowfall, it does make the waxing down these freestyle skis a little more difficult.
There was a lot of chatter last night about the Norwegians choosing lake bibs, and they must have had a really good meteorological report, because you didn't want to be going off early and clearing the tracks with this stuff.
No, I mean, it's still heavy snow throughout the whole race, but certainly first group disadvantage.
But Belov coming home here.
Faded
at 10.5 kilometres. Belov was actually a couple of seconds faster than Ustigov.
Well, that was my thinking. Belov, of course, the Tour de Ski was absolutely up there, and I thought those who were at the sharp end of the Tour de Ski may well fade towards the end here.
Going decently here, Jean-Marc Gaillard of France. and being tracked there to 67, and that's actually Rina Mukhin of Kazakhstan. The suits look a bit similar, but it's the Frenchman ahead here of the Kazakh.
The suits do look very similar.
So here you have it with just under 5 kilometers to go. There it was 12 seconds. It's back down to 10 now. So maybe Sunbi trying to counter-attack. But you can see a lot of the dangers have gone out the way. And Magnificat looking really good for this. In the 5th man home in the Tour de Ski this season, and not a bad race by him. But I just want to bring, I think, a personal best. It's got to be surely, and it's Alexei Chavotkin of Russia, who went off with bib 16, which is a real disadvantage. And this man, who won the junior world title over 10 kilometers freestyle last year, and also the skiathlon junior world title in Almaty, is in 4th place, and that, whatever happens, is going to be a lifetime best for him wherever he ends up.
David, you're right. We covered those races, and I remember thinking this man is going to set the world on fire, and he got a huge disadvantage with that early bib at bib number 16, but a great result.
Yeah, superb. And now Jean-Marc Gaillard. And Gaillard was only about 30 seconds off the pace. He's lost a little bit of ground there in 5th place. But again, we were talking to Michael Lamplot, who is the press attaché for the cross-country for the International Ski Federation, which incidentally, this is his home course. And he was saying today that he thought that the French could do really well because their tails are really up at the moment, and so far it looks as if they're going to have a couple of Frenchmen in the top 10 now. Canadian Alex Harvey started brightly, but now losing place.
Alex, in the Tour de Ski as well, I know he finished 14th overall, which is a very respectable result, but he showed stronger earlier in the Tour de Ski and faded as the days went by.
Yeah, he was about 15 seconds behind Ustigov. That was at the 10.5 kilometer point.
Plus 25. This is where we saw Belov fading massively in his race at this point.
So Harvey actually, in terms of race position, is just behind Chavotkin. He's lost seconds, but actually his race position isn't bad. And now Sunbi. So it was 10 seconds to Magnificat. And now Sunbi to Ustigov. He was ahead by 5. He's now ahead by 6.8. So he's obviously been given the hurry up.
What a phenomenal athlete. He's going through a lot of discomfort in his race today, David. And of course, all those who took part in the Tour de Ski will be feeling a little bit suppressed. But he's managing, that strong mind of his, he's managing to dig into every fibre to bring something special back into his game.
God, this is going to be a wonderful snow playground, isn't it, after this snowfall's gone through here, Mike?
Oh, so much. Well, here's Magnificat. He's still got that spring in his stride, David, but he's in pain.
Yeah, but look, he was 10.1 seconds ahead of Sunbi at the 10.5 kilometer point. We're now coming up to 13.5 kilometers. And look at this, and Sunbi's grabbed another 3 seconds back.
Sunbi, and look at Magnificat. We said about Davos, he gives everything in his racing, and then he trips up in the last little section, stumbling there. He's on his limit, but that's a decent cushion, 7.9.
Yeah, but
just has to keep his form, his balance, his shape.
Sunbi seems to have this amazing constitution.
I think it's his mind, Sunbi's focus, desire to get every victory that he starts in each race. Strong finish from Duvillard, and it will be a good time. What, about 40 seconds off the lead time?
Yeah, so the experienced Frenchman really packing in here at the moment.
Well, just over 40, what is it, 43.2. 9th position, though.
Yeah, so they're well to the fore, the French, as a squad.
Well, here's Sunbi, the latter stages of the race. the fast descent down into the stadium area. And there's not a lot of time you can pick up here on this gradual descent.
Yeah, Sunby, the World Cup leader, champion of the Tour de Ski yet again. And Sunby's record in these freestyle races, first in Davos at 30 kilometers, and then in Lenzerheide in the 10 pursuit, he won that, and then also Toblach, the 10-kilometer individual freestyle, and that was his. Harvey, well, he's leaked another couple of seconds, but he's held on to 5th place at the moment. But there's a fight between France and Norway going on, and here is Sunby. He's the leader of the distance rankings. I mean, he's virtually got 300 points advantage over Schirota, who's second in the distance rankings, the two Norwegians, and Sunby, by just 2.2 seconds, gets in ahead of Oosterhoff. And that's a 7-second advantage, which has shrunk to 2 seconds in the last 1,500 meters of the race, Mike.
David, he was on survival mode there, David, as is Magnificat, but you just feel that it is without a doubt advantage Magnificat.
Yeah, Magnificat, there'll be no lack of desire, and he may be skiing on fumes, and the lactate's really building up. Everything is burning in his body, Mike.
Hugely, hugely. He's been on his limit over the last, 15, 17 minutes.
That big move around 8.5 kilometers at the halfway stage, and Maurice Magnificat. It was a brilliant weekend in Planica for their sprinters, and by 10.8 seconds, and he's regained the last 3 seconds that he lost in the last 1,500 meters, so he did have something left in the tank. Wonderful performance there by the Frenchman.
Well, plenty wine on the table tonight, I'm sure, in the French team. Sunby will be disappointed. And when an athlete, when Magnificat starts exactly 1 minute behind Sunby in the race, he is like a limpet. He will hang on in there. And we see that so many times. It's his personality. He just holds on and holds on.
Mature racer. He's had 3 World Cup victories before today, and great sportsmanship there. He won in Davos back in 2014. A year before that, he won a skiathlon in Canada, and this now his 4th success. Unofficially, of course, there's still some to come home, but I can't see anybody out there who's going to take it away from him.
And Sunby just faded a little, David, towards the end. He still kept a strong pace, but in relation to Magnificat, he dropped back.
And of course, we're waiting for one number of hours before we go to the.
Well, that's a wonderful performance there by the French, and there's no doubt that that is a fantastic squad effort, because the servicemen will be getting pats on their back. Jean-Marc Gaillard at the moment in 8th place. And when I talk about the French team, I'm talking about people like Vincent Meilleur, appropriately named there, Meilleur the best. Well, he probably got the skis right today. He's in charge of the service. Cyril Burdette, and also not Alex Rousselet, but he looks after the women. But that's a fantastic effort.
A huge finish there from Lenkov. That's the most aggressive turn of pace we've seen for the finishing couple of 100 meters. But a shake of the head. He is not happy. Be wondering what he has to do to beat the Magnificat.
And François Favre is the head coach for the French team. This is a big, big success for them. 2 weeks in a row for France to get amongst the Norwegians. And clearly, this is his distance, and this is his discipline.
Yes, certainly a weaker performance we would have expected in the Classic. But when it comes to freestyle and comes to chasing athletes ahead of him, he's one of the best.
So in the clubhouse at the moment, Magnificat in 1st place, Sunby in 2nd spot, Oosterhoff 3rd ahead of teammate Belhoff, and there you can see it for yourselves. And then the 3 Russians there in the top 6, so their service team have done well. Alex Harvey the best for Canada, and Poltaran in the best for Kazakhstan. Tony Livers in the top 10. That's a very good result for him. Lenkov coming home. Duvier, that's another Frenchman, 3 in the top 15. And Jonas Dobler, the best for Germany. So Halvorsen probably needs a bit more racing to find his feet. Shirota there, well, he won the Oslo 50 last year. And Andrew Musgrave there, 33rd, very frustrating for him, 151. And you can see there, I'm just going to go down to 30th place and just see 144. So he was what, 7-8 seconds off a World Cup point.
Such a pity, and in all honesty, bib number 18 today was a slight disadvantage to take all that snow which had fallen on the track.
Well done to Maurice Magnificat, wonderful victory. Well, it's time for us to take our leave. Mike Dixon and myself, David Goldstrom. You'll be able to see highlights very shortly in just a little over 5 minutes on Eurosport 2 of what happened to the women's 10-kilometer freestyle. For now, though, bye-bye from Nove Mesto.